Well, perhaps the best way to answer your question is with a short story, if I may. I do a lot of public speaking, and as a result, I'm frequently asked to MC various events. And last spring, I was completely honored to be asked to officiate the wedding of this young woman, Deborah. And on the day of the wedding, I stood in front of over 500 of her family and friends. The groomsmen were lined up to my left. The groom stood immediately beside me, and he began to sweat as we waited just a little too long for the bride to show up. And I'm thinking, I've never lost anyone at the altar. So I turned to her family and friends and said, we have a small technical challenge. Please give me a moment. I had to walk past 500 family and friends across this massive banquet hall where I knocked on the door of the bridal suite. And there was no answer, so I knocked again and placed my hand on the handle, turned it, and gently looked in the room. And there, on the floor of the bridal suite, was Deborah, sobbing and crying in a pile of crinoline lace and tears. She was surrounded by her mom, her bridesmaids, her girlfriends, and Deborah was having a complete panic attack. Now, it took a fair bit of convincing for me to get the ladies to leave the room. But when they did, I went over and I sat down in front of Deborah. I said, Deborah, do you want to get married today? And through the tears and the crying, she nodded her head. I said, all right, Deborah, you're having a panic attack and they're incredibly uncomfortable, but they are not dangerous. Deborah, I want you to do what I do and say what I say. And in just 7 minutes, Deborah stood up, wiped her tears. I walked her to the back of that aisle. I proceeded up the aisle. I smiled at her groom. I turned around and I said, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the entrance of the bride. And this beautiful bride came up the aisle, and that day I married her to the man of her dreams. And at the end of the wedding, she comes up to me and she throws herself in my arm and she gives me this great big beautiful bear hug, and she goes, oh my goodness, Todd, you've saved my wedding day. And I don't tell you this story to impress you. I tell you the story to impress upon you that the workshops we provide practical skills, because doctors and therapists don't need just theory. They need practical hands-on skills to be able to make changes in the lives of their patients and their clients. Now, does that story answer your question?